got to do nothing else and nothing else? What about this? But, but what about this? Uh, okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا اللهم زدنا علما إنك أنت عليم حكيم اللهم اجعل هذه محاضرة حجة لنا لا حجة علينا يا رب العالمين أما بعد. Today, inshallah ta'ala, as you know, before we went through the book, Kitab al-Nikah, the book of marriage. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to start Kitab al-Talaq, the book of divorce. After that, there are a series of other chapters that we're going to discuss after the book of divorce. So then, when we talk about the book of divorce, what do you guys think is in it? What is the book of divorce? What is it? What does that have to do with? How to get divorced? What else? Separation. Right. When we talk about anything that has to do with Islam, there's always rulings associated with it. Anything that has to do with Islam, there are always rulings associated with it. What's the ruling for getting a divorce? What's the ruling on getting a divorce? Not everybody wants. It's halal? Okay, so getting a divorce is halal. Right. What else? That's it? Just halal? Is disliked. Anyone else? Is it recommended? Not recommended. So if someone were to ask you, if a person's having marital problems and they say they're thinking about getting a divorce, would you say, yeah, it's sunnah to get a divorce? It's recommended, it's hated? Huh? It's mubah. What is it? What's the ruling on getting a divorce? What would you tell them? It's halal. Right. So what we're going to learn today is that a talaq, or divorce, has 5 rulings. It could be wajib, it could be haram, it could be mustahab, it could be mubah, it could be recommended, etc. So what we're going to do, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to talk about some of those rulings, and then we'll get into more of divorce. So first of all, when we say divorce in Arabic, everyone knows the term talaq. What's the difference between talaq and a khul'a? What's the difference? One is what? One is asked from a woman. Some women may say, divorce me. Is that the same as a khula? And if so, what's the difference? She's asking for? Okay. So the talaq, so both of them come from a guy. Is that the husband? Right? Is that not correct? Can a woman get a khula without her husband's permission? Can she release herself from the marriage without his permission? In general. Now, we're not talking about a third party, we're talking about between the husband and the wife. No. So then, quick rehash. A khul'a is initiated from the wife and is confirmed or agreed or accepted by the husband in general. Is that clear? Right. A talaq, a divorce, is initiated from the man, the husband. Right? So we're going to speak about some of the rulings pertaining to it. So the first thing, a divorce is a taqliya. A taqliya, it means to remove something from yourself. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that a woman is libas for a husband and a husband is libas, or the term libas means garments, clothes, covering, right? So a woman is libas for her husband and vice versa. The husband is libas for his wife. At-talaq means a takhliya. Takhliya means to remove that libas, to remove that covering, to remove that covering. And you may find in some cases, if a sister is married and she gets divorced, she may do some things that may be uncharacteristic of her to do after she's divorced. The people that know her, for example, right? Because, and partly is because that covering of the husband is now removed, right? So if a woman's been married for a very long time and she gets divorced, in some cases, she may do some uncharacteristic things that are known to be uncharacteristic for her, for the people that know her, right? Partly, and Allah knows best, could be due to that covering being removed. Does that make sense? طيب. So then, talaqat an-naqa. Talaqat an-naqa means that the camel, it ran off without, it was let go, it was released. In the Sharia, الطلاق, it means حل قيد نكاح أو بعضه, is to remove the knot of marriage or part of it. To remove the knot or the tying together of two people, to remove that. So the rulings as it relates to الطلاق, قال المصنف رحمه الله, and if you remember, we're going through the book Zad al-Mustaqni'. Zad al-Mustaqni'. And just for context, if anyone's following along in Zad al-Mustaqni', we're not going to cover every single aspect, because, and the reason for that is, when we get into certain technicalities in divorce, it mentions a lot with the language. Well, as a society here, we don't speak Arabic. So then for our language, it's primarily English. So then we're going to speak to things as it relates to the English-speaking audience. That's number one. Number two, some of the issues that they speak about in divorce is not necessarily prevalent in our society. So here, where we live here, that's not something that we would understand. So we're going to talk about this as it relates to what we understand. So again, if anyone's following on, say, hey, where's that? It might be in another section because I'm skipping through. Okay? So then, the first thing, he says, Kitab al-Talaq, yubahu lil-hajah. So it's permissible for a person, a man, to divorce his wife if he needs to. It's permissible, right? What would be the reason why a man would divorce his wife? Looks? Okay. So he said looks, his wife could gain some weight, let herself go. Okay. What else? She stops praying. That's a different ruling. Right now we're talking about mubah, like is it permissible? She's abusive? That might be different than mubah. Right? It might be. So then, the ulama, they mentioned that is for a person to divorce his wife, and I'll mention this, and I'll probably mention this in another class. There was a sheikh that taught us, his name was Sheikh Abdul Majid al-Subayl. And he said that if divorce was in the hands of the women, no man would be married. No man would be married, or no man would stay married, right? So then, when a man divorces his wife, he has to use wisdom and understand ramifications. And this advice is for men. Brothers, even if you grant a woman a khul'ah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed the men above women bid-daraja. Allah mentions it in the Quran, that men are placed in a higher, above women. Men are placed above women, right? So what does that look like? Let's say you have a wife. Let's say you're in a good space, right? Your wife, she's asking for a khul'ah. Brothers, you got to be smart. If you, let's say, okay, khula granted. What does that mean? If you grant a wife a khula, what does that mean? What does that mean? Mind you, now, right now we're talking about a conventional situation, not you living in her house, where she got to kick you out. Right now she's living in your house, right? She asked for a khula. Being a thorough, decent man, you're going to, all right, does she got somewhere to go? Does she got this? Is she going to be cool? Some dudes is real messed up. All right. You know, women, she'll say, oh, I went out. And you be, all right, go ahead, you got the role. And she like, I didn't mean it. Now she don't have nowhere to go. That's your fault. You shouldn't open your mouth, right? Some men are petty like that. Some men are petty like that. I'm talking to men that understand remember we spoke about in the khutbah today, responsibilities. Make responsible decisions. So if a woman asks for a khul'a, it's upon you, brother, men, look at her situation. Can she handle that right now? Is that what's best? She might, whatever the case may be, is she okay? Meaning, if she's living in your house, the khul'a means she must leave fawran, like right now. That means, is she okay? Is she going to be okay? Is she going to be okay? These are things that as a man, you should think about. Likewise, if you divorce a woman, all right, obviously she has an iddah period, and we're going to talk about that, inshallah. But just being thorough, just being a thorough man, you should still be concerned about your Muslim sister. She's still Muslim, right? She's still your Muslim sister. She's your Muslim sister in Islam. So you should have some concern about her whereabouts. All right, you divorced, you cool, you got somewhere to go, like you're going to be all right, money good, like you need, whatever the case may be, it's just being decent. That's just being decent. A man, the origin of a man is not for us to be emotional. Is that clear, brothers? The origin is for us not to be emotional. Women are emotional. We can't act like women, right? We got to be stand-up men, and all right, even if they don't like, that's fine. But even if she don't want it, but you see that she's not beneficial to you, so you have to divorce. That's fine, but do it in a good way, right? Be decent about it. Don't be nutty about it. Don't be corny. Some dudes are real corny. Being corny is not decent. So then, it says, yubahu lil haja, that is permissible if there's a need. So one of the reasons, or one of the things that the ulama mentioned is su khuluq al-mar'a. If your wife, she has bad character. Your wife may have bad character. Maybe she used profanity, she's disrespectful, her mouth is, it's crazy. In the Arabic language, they say lisanaha tawil, like she has a long tongue, all right? She might talk crazy to you, like, I don't want to deal with that. As a man, as you get older, there's certain things you just don't want to deal with. You don't want to argue back and forth. That's just like, no. You go argue with him. I don't want to argue, right? That's what happens. So then in this case, yubahu lil haja. So then that's the first one, right? Mubah. The next one is yukrah li adamiha. If it's not a reason to divorce, then it's hated for you to divorce her. Yukrah is hated. So for example, let's say she doesn't have bad character. You just like, you know what? I just don't feel like being married to her no more. And you tell her she's divorced. In this case, it's disliked that you divorce her. It's disliked. It's not haram, still permissible, but it's disliked. Right. The one after that, yustahabbu li darari, is permissible or recommended if she brings harm your way. How can your wife be harmful to you? No one knows. Let's say she doesn't pray. If you guys remember, we gave a khutbah. I gave a khutbah earlier today. The khutbah was about responsibilities. Kullukum mas'ul an ra'iyati. Everyone is responsible for those things that you've been given responsibility for. As a man, and this is why, as a man or a position of authority, sometimes you got to make decisions that are not popular. But you making that decision is for the well-being of the family, right? So let's give an example. You're married to a woman and she doesn't pray. She prays. I pray at least 3 of the 5. I pray at least 3 of the 5. In this case, it might be recommended for you to divorce that sister. Why is that? Why is that? How does that harm you? You might say, all right, but she's harming herself. She's not harming me. Well, the problem with you, brother, is that you allowed yourself to be married to a woman that doesn't pray. So that means you're responsible. An-Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ul an ra'iyati. That the man is responsible for Ahl Bayti. You're responsible for the people in your home. If your wife does not pray, then that falls back on you. Not that you don't pray, but you're responsible. You got to make a decision. Now, if you don't have kids, is one thing, you might want to be paid. But if you have children, and your children pay attention. Let's say you have a wife, she prays 3 of the 5. Right? You out working all day. You work, you trying to take care of your family, you're doing everything necessary to support your house. You got a daughter. Your daughter, before you know it, your daughter's 9, 10, now she's 12 years old. You're assuming, all right, you thinking you out doing what you're supposed to do. The assumption is, my wife is showing her how to cover, my wife is doing all that. That's the assumption, am I right? Or how many brothers here show their daughters how to cover? That's my point. So then, the assumption is that's being taken care of in the home. Well, come to find out, your daughter's 13, 14, and she don't want to cover. Now you scratching your head, why not? And she not even do she not want to cover, she doesn't even pray. As a man and a father, who's the first person you're going to look at? Huh? All right, so you look at the mother, and then after you look at the mother, who else you going to look at? Yourself. It's your fault. Why? Because you allowed that situation to happen because you knew it was like that before. But sometimes some brothers be love-struck. It's reality, love-struck. The youth? La, that's different. The youth is a person that has no jealousy of his wife. Like, he probably got more than jealousy for his wife. That's why he put up with it. You understand? I'm talking about his daughter, but not talking about the wife. She got to pay attention, man. All right. So then, in this case, he has a wife. She barely prays. Now his daughter doesn't pray. Right? But he knew, it's not like it was hidden. This stuff, pay attention, brothers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show you stuff. It's for you to believe what you see. The brother might be so much in love that he lied to himself, even though he saw something, but he didn't really, he going to talk himself out of what he saw. Make, oh, that was not really what I saw. All right? I understand, these are all tests. These are all tests. So then, being responsible means making responsible decisions as a man. So the next one is in this case, it could be recommended for that brother to divorce his wife. The second one, yajibu lil ila. The next one is wajib to divorce his wife if he's a muli. What's a muli? A muli is a person who he swears not to be intimate with his wife more than 4 months. Well, there's a whole chapter about that. We'll talk about that when we get there. In this case, she can say, listen, I want a divorce. She goes somewhere. It's obligatory. So for a man, it's impermissible for a man a man has to be intimate with his wife at least once every 4 months. If not, she has a right for a divorce. In fact, it is obligatory, it is wajib that he divorces her if she requests it. That's called ila. We'll talk about that in more detail when we get to that chapter. And the last one, وَيَحْرَمُ لِلْبِدْعَةِ. It's haram to divorce a woman if the divorce was done out of bid'ah. What is a bid'ah divorce? Does anyone know? Is there such thing as a divorce that's a bid'ah? It is. He said a divorce that's not according to the sunnah. What's a divorce according to the sunnah? Shuf. A bid'ah, we're going to talk about this, but if you already know, because we love the sunnah here, so we should definitely know. What's a talaq from the sunnah? What's a divorce that's a sunnah? Does anyone know? What's a sunnah divorce?
Divorce your wife, would you have it touched her after she has
Mumtaz. I'm not going to say what he said. I'll mention it when we get there. Anyone else? It's two parts. What else? What's another one? Not. So you can't divorce a woman if she's pregnant? I'm asking, can you? I'm asking. So before you divorce a woman, you got to confirm that she's pregnant before you go divorce her? Divorce won't go through until after the pregnancy? Where you hear that from? I'm asking you, you said it. Is that what that's your practice? I'm saying, is that what you believe? It's okay if you believe. We're gonna cover that, inshallah. We're gonna talk about it. I'll let you ponder on that. Just think about it, all right? Anyone else? What is a sunnah divorce? Mumtaz. Good. He's the only one here who know what a sunnah divorce is. Then what's a bid'ah divorce? The opposite of sunnah, right? Mumtaz. All right, so we're going to talk about that, inshallah ta'ala. But it's haram to divorce. So what happens if you divorce a woman and it's a bid'ah? Does it count as a divorce? Huh? It does? It does. Yes. According to the majority of the scholars of divorce, that is a bid'ah. It still counts. But the sunnah is that you take that woman back, that you take her back and divorce her according to the sunnah. And you divorce her according to the sunnah. Right. Yes.
It's not pregnant. It's while she's postpartum.
The postpartum?
Postpartum bleeding.
What about the post? You can't divorce her then either? Sheikh, just slow down.
That's what I have in my head.
All right. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. All right? Yeah, we'll talk about it, inshallah. طيب. وَيُصِحُّ. So who can divorce a woman? زوج مكلف مميز يعقل ما يفعل. That a husband can divorce his wife. He has to be in the right state of mind, etc., etc. طيب. من زال عقله معذورا لم يقع طلاقه. So a person who loses his intellect, let's say, for example, at some point in time, the man becomes, he uses his intellect, or he passes out, or he utters his wife is divorced when he's passed out. Does that divorce count? No, it does not count. طيب. If a person, it says, وَمَنْ أُقْرِي عَلَيْهِ. So the next one is, before we get into that, let's say, for example, a person loses their intellect, but they're drinking alcohol. Does that count? Let's say, for example, a person is high or drunk. He's high, and he divorces his wife, or he's drunk and he divorces his wife. Does that divorce count? Yes or no? Because right now his mind is not there.
No.
You say no. Anyone else? Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, Rufi'a qalam an thalath, that the pen is lifted off of three. What are those three people? The one that's sleeping, hatta yastayqid. Who else? Who? Hatta yablu. Who else? The majnun. Hatta what? Until when? Until he reaches sanity. So then right now, we said that a person that loses their intellect and he divorces his wife, does it count? No. What about if he's drinking alcohol and he loses his intellect? Does it count? Who else say no? Raise your hand. I just lined y'all up. It's no. The answer is no. It does count. Why does it count? Why does it count? If a person is unconscious, usually it's not due to their own doing, right? Now, when a person drinks alcohol, there are two positions here. If a person's drunk or high, it's two positions. Let's say, for example, they got drunk and high and they didn't know it. Let's say they was drinking something, ate something, and got drunk and didn't realize and they divorced their wife in that case, then that divorce does not count. But if that person drinks alcohol and gets high muta'ammid intentionally, and then they divorce their wife, it counts. Is that clear? Yes. Yes, that counts. But the next one, we're going to talk about ukriha, like a person's being forced. Let's say, for example, man ukri alayhi dhulman. Let's say a man says to you, Sheikh, brother, you have to divorce your wife. Divorce your wife right now. A man comes to you and says, divorce your wife right now. Dhulman. If you don't divorce her, he says he's going to cause you harm, or your children harm, or he's going to take your money. He's going to harm you, threaten you, and in your mind you believe he's capable of doing it. وَقَادِرٌ يَذُنُّ إِقَاءَهُ. That you believe that if you don't oblige to what he's saying, you know what I mean, it's going to happen. فَطَلَّقَ تَبْعًا لِكَوْ لَمْ يَقَعَ. If a person in that case divorces his wife, then it doesn't count. Is that clear? You smiling?
No, I'm just thinking about the situation.
So let's say, for example, let's say a man threatens to beat you up. You know your bout game not like that, right? For example, right? You know that you don't know, he might cause you a lot of harm. You want to turn this off? Go ahead, you got it. He may cause you a lot of harm. So in that case, it's permissible for you to utter it. Now let's say, for example, a person says to you, if you don't divorce your wife, I'm going to take $100 off you. No, I'm serious. This is an example some of the ulama use, right? A person says, divorce your wife. No. He says, if you don't give me, basically, I'm going to steal $100 from you if you don't divorce your wife. I'm going to take $100 from you if you don't divorce your wife. So if a brother says, and he believes that he's really going to steal the $100 from him, and the brother divorces his wife, does that divorce count, yes or no? It does. Why? Because it's only $100. That's not something worthy. If it was like your lifetime savings and all of that, that's one thing. $100, you might be like, all right, I'm going to let that. It's not that deep. Did that make sense?
I get it, but I don't see the pressure.
You don't see the pressure?
Yeah, I don't see the pressure. Like, the threat of $100.
Your wife ain't worth $100? So if somebody told you they're going to take $100, you'll go divorce your wife for $100? Yeah, shit. So you'll just let them take the $100? If it had to be one of the others, what I'm saying. Listen what I'm saying. What it's saying is, basically, if you divorced your wife for the $100, it counts as a divorce because $100 is not, it's value, but it's not the value that's to separate you from your wife. Did that make sense? Is that clear? Did I lose anybody?
Not like you really wanted to do it. That's nothing.
You really wanted to do what?
To divorce your wife, it's $100 is nothing.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Like you said. Play it. The next one. The next thing is يقع الطلاق في نكاح مختلف فيه. So let's say, for example, a woman gets married without a wali. If a woman marries a man without a wali, can he divorce her? Yes. Why wouldn't he be able to divorce her? Even though the marriage itself is questionable. Even though the marriage itself is questionable. Yeah. But the next one. Can a man divorce his wife if he's angry with her? Mumtaz. Because some people, no, I'm saying this because we've had people come and say, brother, I got divorced from my wife, I was angry. And I'm thinking, well, how many people divorce their wife when they're happy? Does that happen? Oh, you divorced? I didn't know brothers divorce. Hey, they happy. Hey, guess what? They're happy. How many brothers are happy when they divorce their wives? So then the origin is that when you divorce your wife, you're going to be angry. All right? The next thing. If a person were to divorce their wife, they can use a wakil. What's a wakil? A representative. A man could use a brother and say, listen, I'm going to give you the authority to divorce my wife for me. I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to just call, look, man, just let her go, right? Now, you can say to him, I grant you 2 divorces at a certain time. Like, he can be very specific about what he allows that person to do on his behalf. Next question. Can a husband make his wife a wakil for himself to divorce herself from the marriage?
Say it again.
Yeah. Let's say, for example, a brother says to his wife, you know what? I'm going to make you the wakil. So anytime, and I'm going to allow for you to do 2 divorces on my behalf. Can a man do that to his wife? No. He can. He can give that authority to his wife to divorce him, coming from him. So I'll give an example. It says, وَامْرَأَتُهُ كَوَاكِيلِهِ فِي طَلَاقِ نَفْسِهَا. A woman, if he gives it the same way, for example, he says, listen, I'm going to give you the authority to divorce my wife for me. Are you with me? A man's giving you the authority to divorce his wife for him. He said, I'm going to give you 2 divorces, meta sha'a, whenever you feel like it. If you hear me complaining, I'm going to go ahead and divorce her for you. You got 2 of them, right? The same thing, he can give that same option to his wife to make her a wakil for him. Yeah. Now, I wouldn't recommend a brother to do that. I'm just saying it's on the table if that's what you choose to do. The next part we're going to cover here is the sunnatul talaq. Before we get into that, I want to speak briefly about all right, we're going to talk about the hayd. So when a woman, and we'll speak about this again, but I want to talk about it again, briefly. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah says, الْمُطَلِّقَاتُ يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ ثَلَاثَةَ قُرُوءٍ. Allah says the divorced woman, they tarabbasna, meaning they cannot get married again or do anything else until thalathatu quru'. The question is, what is the word quru'? What does that mean? What does that mean? If they thalatha, some people say 3 menstrual cycles. What does that mean? She has to bleed 3 times, or has to be pure 3 times. Does that make sense? This is a difference of opinion amongst the Salaf. And I'm going to make it clear, give an example so that we're not confused. Let's say, for example, first of all, we got to talk about sunnah and bid'ah when it comes to divorce. If a man is going to divorce his wife, the sunnah is that he does not divorce her more than 3 times in one sitting, more than 1 time in one sitting. Meaning, he cannot divorce his wife in one sitting 3 times. If he says to his wife, you're divorced, you're divorced, you're divorced, in one sitting. Talaq, 3 times in one sitting is muharram. Rather, the sunnah is to divorce her 1 time in one sitting. Is that clear? Right. So then that's the first part, that's the sunnah. The second sunnah for talaq is that it is done in a period in which you were not intimate with her. What does that mean? Let's say your wife comes off of her mens today. What's today's date? 11/22. Okay? Tomorrow, you divorce her, but you were not intimate with her from yesterday until today, and you divorce her at that time. That is considered a sunnah divorce. If you're intimate with her and you divorce her 2 weeks later without her mens coming on and coming off, then this is considered a bid'ah. 90% of the divorces that happen are bid'iyah. 90%.
Can you run that back one more time?
All right. A divorce that is a bid'ah. First of all, you can't divorce your wife more than 3 times in one sitting. We're clear about that. All right. The next divorce is you're married and you want to divorce your wife, but you were intimate with her yesterday. Can you divorce her right now? No. When can you divorce her? After the mens goes off, like right now she doesn't have her mens. You was just intimate with her. Her mens doesn't come on for another month and a half. That means you gotta wait until her mens comes on, goes off, and she's pure again to divorce her. That's a sunnah divorce. 90% or more of the divorces that happen here are all bid'ah. For people that love the sunnah, we practice a lot of bid'ah when it comes to that. Wa nasallahu salam wa afiyah. Is that clear? So then, bid'ah as it relates to at-talaq is zaman. There's 2 issues that it considers. Zaman wal adad, the time and the number. So anytime anyone wants to talk about at-talaq or divorce that's bid'ah, there are 2 things that must come in mind. The time in which he did it and the amount of times that he divorced her. Those are the 2 things that you must consider as it relates to a sunnah or a bid'ah divorce. Is that clear? So then, we mentioned about thalathatul quru'. So the difference of the opinion, it goes like this. There's one position of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha and others that the word quru' here means the hayd, or the tuhur, the tuhur. So what that means is, let's say for example, a man divorces, she just came off her mens yesterday, She just came off her mens yesterday, and you divorced her today. So that's sunnah. You were not intimate with her. Her mens went off yesterday. You divorced her today. You were not intimate with her. They say that because it's the tuhur, the purified period, then that period right there, that counts as number 1. So let's think about it. That's number 1. So she goes through a whole cycle here of being pure. Then her mens comes on and goes off. That's number 2. Right? Then her mens goes off and comes on. As soon as her mens comes on again, that means she's free. That's one position. Is that clear? All right. So I remember when we were in the university, one of the mashayikh was explaining this. So I didn't understand it. I understand it now. But back then, it didn't make sense to me. All right. We're going to mention it again. The first position is that it's based on the purity, like the time that she's not in her mens, right? So then, he was not intimate with her. Let's say her mens went off last week, and this whole week he was not intimate with her. He divorces her right then and there. Once he divorces her, that first divorce counts as her first mens, meaning her first, when it says thalatha quru', that counts as the first quru', because he divorced her in a time of purity. Then her mens comes on, goes off, that's the second purity. Then her mens goes on and comes off, that's the third purity. Once her mens comes on again, it's automatically finished. That's one position, yes.
So you saying he divorced her each time in those steps? Or just the first, from the purification?
Sheikh, you just confused me. What do you mean divorce?
That's what I'm trying to
All right,
understand.
so let me say it again. Maybe I'm confusing people. I'm going to say it again. It's all right. The woman, her mens goes off. They're fine. He's not intimate with his wife at all. He divorces her right there. Okay? That's one divorce. Okay? Remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that a woman must wait 3 quru'. In Arabic, the word is quru'. Yes. Let me finish explaining this.
You said it's one divorce. You mean it's one quru'?
No, it counts one. Sheikh, listen to me. It's one divorce. It's 3 menstruals or purification periods. Okay? So here, so the one divorce happened during the period of purification, right? Then she goes through that whole period of purification. Her mens comes on. Once her mens comes on and goes off, that second purification period, that counts as the second qara, meaning the third. You know how you say 3 menses? Here's 3 purifications.
I have to pronounce 3. You only pronounce 1 and you go through cycle. That's what I'm trying to
You
understand.
have to say it every time that she goes off.
Well, Sheikh, you been married before?
Yeah,
You ever divorced a sister before?
yeah,
And you, every period, you pronounce divorce each time?
yeah.
Who told you? Nah, Sheikh, never. You don't have to do that. If you divorce, yeah, subhanAllah. If you divorce the sister, all right, and every month you divorced her again, then you would have divorced her. You can't, those sisters, those women are not halal for you anymore. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, At-talaqu marratan. There's 2 divorces. What are the 2 divorces? The 2 divorces are raji'iyya, meaning you could take her back, right? According to what you're saying is, if you divorce her 1 month, no, I understand, but that's what you've done. So I'm telling you now, if you have any ex-wives that you might want to remarry, you might have a problem there. We might want to talk offline about it. All right? Am I making sense?
I'm trying to understand. I don't.
Okay, so
I
what-
understand where you was explaining it, as far as the recourse of the first after she's from her mints, and then she clear up, and then her mints come back on, and then it counts as another divorce.
No, who said that? I didn't say that.
That's what I'm understanding. That you
No, I never said that. What I said was, anytime, all right, right now we're going to mention what's normal, what everyone knows, right? What everyone knows is, if a man divorces a woman, she has 3 menstrual periods. And if she doesn't get her mens, she has 3 months. And if she's pregnant, then she has until she delivers the baby. And if you marry a woman and you're never intimate with her, never alone with her, then she doesn't have an iddah period at all. Okay? Right now we're talking about the one that has an iddah period. She has her mens, etc. This woman, if you divorce her, she has 3 menstrual periods. Right now we're just talking about what everyone's accustomed to.
Tell me the stages. Okay, I got you.
That's all I've been talking about all this time. Shane.
The way you said that,
Because I was trying to give it to you from a different way. Right now we say 3 menstrual periods. The salaf differ. Is it 3 menstrual periods or is it 3 purification periods? I'm giving you the position of the 3 purification periods as opposed to the 3 menstrual periods. Does that make sense? All right, I'm not even going to explain that no more. Move on. All right. So then, it says, إذا طلقها مرة في طهر لم يجامع فيه تركها حتى تنقضي عدتها فهو سنة. He said, if you divorce a woman 1 time in a period in which you were not intimate with her, meaning you did not have sexual intercourse with her, وتركها حتى تنقضي عدتها فهو سنة. If you divorce a woman while she's pure, that you did not have intimacy with her during that time period, then that is a sunnah. It says, وَتَحْرَمُ ثَلَاثُ إِذَن. If you divorce her 3 times in 1 sitting, then this is haram. This is impermissible. وَإِن طَلَّقَهَا مَنْ دَخَلَ بِهَا فِي حَيْضٍ أَوْ طُهْرٍ وَطِئَ فِيهِ فَبِدْعَةٌ. If a man divorces his wife while she's on her menses, it still counts, but it's a bid'ah. If the man divorces his wife in a period in which he was intimate with her, it counts as a divorce, but it is a bid'ah. Any questions about that? وَتُسَنُّ رَجْعَتُهَا. And that is sunnah for him to take the wife back in those 2 instances. In the instance where he divorced her while she was on her mens, and the instance in which he divorced her while he was intimate with her yesterday. There are sisters that have been divorced. A brother may have been intimate with his wife last week and divorced her a couple days after that. This is a bid'ah. This is a bid'ah. طيب. وَلَا sunnah وَلَا bid'ah. There's no sunnah or bid'ah as it relates to divorcing a woman that does not get her mens. What happens? How do you divorce a woman that does not get her mens? It's 3 months. Her waiting period is 3 months. Likewise, a woman, not likewise, but rather a woman who you marry, let's say you marry a sister today, and when you walk out the marriage, like, no, I'm cool, I'm divorcing her. She doesn't have an iddah period. She does not have an iddah period because she was not alone with you ever. 1 second. The next one, if a woman is pregnant, you can divorce a pregnant woman. Her iddah period is until she delivers the baby. So let's say you divorce a pregnant woman in the first month of her pregnancy, and the pregnancy goes 9 months, her iddah period is 9 months. Let's say you divorce a woman while she's pregnant and she's in her 9th month of pregnancy, and you divorce her today and she delivers tomorrow, her iddah period is over. She can get married that day. Is that clear? Huh? Wadah? Is that clear? All right, mumtaz. So then, we're going to stop with that, inshallah. Any questions? Now, tomorrow, we have class tomorrow. Tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala, I believe we're going to be talking about a doubt a person might doubt. We have many brothers coming and say, I don't know if I divorced her or not. I'm confused. I don't know, right? And then we're going to talk about a raj'ah. How do you take your wife back if you divorced her? These issues, the issues of talaq, as we mentioned earlier in the very beginning, brothers, sisters, we got to be responsible. A lot of times, men, when we have marital problems, we don't like to talk to people about it. This is what men do. A lot of times, men, if we have marital issues and problems, we don't like to talk about it. And so what happens is the problem, it festers until you can't save it anymore, right? And when you have children, I don't know children that do not suffer when their parents get a divorce. I don't care how involved both parents, and these are parents. Some parents may be involved, very much involved in their children's lives, even after divorce, but they're still going to be affected. Children are still going to be affected. Now, I'm not saying don't get a divorce for that reason, but it's certain things that you got to consider, right? Certain things as adults, parents, Muslim, taban, obviously, these certain things that you have to consider, right? And that's just part of being responsible. However, some of the ulama say that at-talaq huwa abghadul halal, like the most hated thing that's halal. Allahu alam if this hadith is authentic or not. Allah knows best. Because some of the scholars discuss the hadith on its authenticity. However, understand that especially in our communities, many of us in our communities come from broken homes, right? If you just look at the results of broken homes, how it harms children, it harms young men in particular in our community. Some of the harms that happens with the young men that grow up in broken homes without being around their fathers, you can just look at the results. The prisons, a lot of these young kids killing each other out here, etc. We're talking about the boys, right? But then how does it affect the women? It affects the young girls because a lot of times you'll find girls that do not have their fathers in their lives, they're a little more promiscuous, right? They're looking for attention because they didn't get their attention from their fathers because for whatever reason, their father wasn't around. As adults, as community leaders, in my case, right? I think it would be irresponsible for me not to mention these issues and not to at least spark the conversation. There are families, and I implore families that are divorced. You can't stand your ex-wife, the ex-wife can't stand your ex-husband, and when y'all got kids, put that beef aside for the kids. Because I guarantee you this, these people go to work every day and might hate their boss. But they do what they're supposed to do because they care about the money. Well, guess what? If you care and love your kids the way you claim you do you need to make that relationship better for the sake of them. For the sake of them. It's nothing, even if the mom and dad can't be together, but if they see that their parents have a healthy relationship, even though they're not married, that's more beneficial to them You could care less, but it's more beneficial to them and their prosperity as young adults or young kids growing up. Any questions? Yes. I'm sorry?
I have a question. So, say somebody was married for like a few years and they had a marriage contract, but they kind of lost their marriage contract. Like, can they, like I said, they don't want to get a divorce, but can they like write up a new one? Or how would that work?
So there are people that were married, they had a marriage contract. Do they remember what was in it?
For the most part.
Fine. Then just write it down. If they remember what was in the marital contract, the man had a contract or the sister?
They both wrote down things.
Why would a man need a marriage contract?
Because,
What's the purpose of a marriage contract?
well,
When you say marriage contract, there's a couple things here. You mean just a contract saying that they're married without conditions put in it? Or do you mean conditions?
no, it was with conditions.
Okay. So my question to you is, why would a man ever need conditions in his marital contract? The conditions are for the women, not for the men. Ask me why. Ask me why.
Why?
Does anyone know why? Why does a woman, if anyone's going to put conditions in a marriage, it would be a woman, not a man. Why would a man put conditions in a marriage when he controls the marriage? If he doesn't want to be married, he can just say you're divorced tomorrow. Whereas a woman, it's not that easy for her. So therefore, she needs conditions in her marriage in case she wants to get out of the marriage because of certain conditions you didn't fulfill. Does that make sense? So then, in this regard, the conditions of the marriage is beneficial to the woman. The man, there's no need for a man to have conditions in a marriage. There's no need. Any other questions? Right. We'll stop with that, inshallah, and try to pick up tomorrow. We're going to finish this part out. Once we finish that, we're going to go through the book of Kitabul Ilah, the book of Zihar. All these are part of divorce anyway. Kitab al-Li'an, when they curse each other. And then we'll go to the book of the Iddah and what it's supposed to be. And then from there, bi'ithnillah, I'm just going to go, what are we going to cover? From there, we're going to go to the book of nafaqah, or maintenance. How a man is supposed to take care of his wife, etc. And then after that, I think the last part will go in and we'll cover the chapter of child custody in Islam. Once we finish that, then we'll be done with that section, and we may go into the book of crimes and punishments in Islam. Something new that people probably never knew about. We'll talk about that, inshallah. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. What's up, Shay?
Is the class every Friday and Saturday?
No, it's not consistent. I'm sorry. Right now, I'm inconsistent. So what we'll do is, before I do the class, we'll put out a flyer. All right, we'll do it this day and that day, etc. Okay? Malish, I'm sorry. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We turn it off.